Xiaoda and Su Ying spent time on a balcony, as Xiaoda told Su Ying that because Cheng Dalei had been a mountain bandit, they had been exposed to people's disputes in the past. She believed that after that day, no one in the family would dare to gossip about Su Ying, because Cheng Dalei had become a general. Xiao enthusiastically said that there was nothing more glorious than having a general as a husband, and that by marrying the general who led the army, the Su family was said to have risen high. Meanwhile, in the room where Cheng Dalei and Su Lixi were having their talk, Su Lixi glanced at Cheng Dalei and told him that she had done everything she could, but in the end, she had come up empty-handed. She begged him to show a little mercy and give her family a way to live. Cheng Dalei's face darkened as he blushed, stuttered, and asked her if she could stand up and talk. Su Lixi stood up and leaned closer to the flustered Cheng Dalei, telling him that if he wanted her to do something, they could do it right there. She flirtatiously put her hand on her chest, informing Cheng Dalei that she was meant to serve people and was very good at it. Su Ying, who was sitting on the edge of the railing, stared at the sky while Xiaoda ate beside her. She thought that Cheng Dalei and Su Lixi's talk was taking so long and wondered what they had been talking about. Flustered, Cheng Dalei couldn't muster a word as Su Lixi's aggression towards him made him feel uncomfortable. She asked him what he wanted her to do. Cheng Dalei ordered her not to get so close. Su Lixi still continued her flirtatious approach and told Cheng Dalei that she still had great confidence in her body. She asked him if he wanted to try. Cheng Dalei gulped as he became sweatier. Su Lixi smiled and thought that Cheng Dalei was just a mountain bandit after all. Cheng Dalei's eyes darkened as he told Su Lixi to keep her distance because she was stepping on his robe, which was the official uniform for the general and hadn't been washed yet. Su Lixi's face contorted as she couldn't believe what Cheng Dalei had said. She wondered if he was a blockhead or if she had just overestimated her charm. Cheng Dalei's face darkened and he told Su Lixi that stepping on his official robe was like stepping on the official's authority. He also wondered where his cup of tea was, as he had been there for so long, and he mocked the Su family for having no rules. A man jumped from the ceiling of the room. It was Gong Yangai, who was a sword coming behind Cheng Dalei, who had told him to die. Su Lixi's eyes went wide as she was surprised and wondered when Gong Yangai had hidden himself in the room. Cheng Dalei quickly unsheathed his sword and parried Gong Yangai's sword. His face contorted as he thought that Gong Yangai's sword was fierce and wondered when the Su family had such a person. The system popped up Gong Yangai's information. He had been a silent and excellent executioner at just age 16. Which made Cheng Dalei amazed at his many attributes. Cheng Dalei readied his feet and kicked Gong Yang in the face. Gong Yangai flew and flopped. However, he stood up as soon as he fell and ran towards Cheng Dalei. Like a fierce beast, Cheng Dalei anticipated his attack. He swung his sword, but Gong Yangai was able to duck in time and growled at Cheng Dalei seconds after. Gong Yangai tackled Cheng Dalei, who was made unable to move and wondered how. He ran and rammed Cheng Dalei through the wall, causing a huge banging sound. As he crushed Cheng Dalei against the wall, his eyes began to glow red. He pounced on top of him and began his assault on Cheng Dalei, who crossed his arms to block Gong Yangai's attack. However, Cheng Dalei's head drew some blood, as did his mouth, as he was choked by Gong Yangai, causing him to make a rough noise. Cheng Dalei struggled as his face darkened from Gong Yangai choking him, and his sword fell to the ground. Cheng Dalei elbowed him in the face, and on defense, Gong Yangai pushed his face. Gong Yangai bit Cheng Dalei's arms as he held tight on him, which made Cheng Dalei's eyes widen in disdain. Struggling to talk, Cheng Dalei palmed Gong Yangai's face, telling him that he was a brat. As he was pushing Gong Yangai's head, he bit him hard, and his clothes were ripped off, including his skin. Cheng Dalei cursed at him while still being choked, and he held Gong Yangai's head, asking him if he was a dog. His eyes glowed red as he was about to headbutt him, which made a huge bang. Gong Yangai stepped back, unable to balance himself. Cheng Dalei kneeled down as he was coughing, and some blood rushed from his bitten arms. He picked up his sword, stood up, and glanced at each other. Cheng Dalei told Gong Yangai that he couldn't kill him, as his men would be arriving soon. He smiled and asked Gong Yangai to follow him so they could drink and eat meat together. Gong Yangai cursed at him, telling Cheng Dalei that he had usurped the Su family's property and had forced Su Lixi to commit to him. He claimed that Cheng Dalei was wearing a fake tiger skin and doing things that had forced him to do bad things at the time. A moment later, Cheng Dalei's men arrived at the scene with concern and informed him that they had come. One of them asked Cheng Dalei who Gong Yangai had been, as his martial arts had been impressive at such a young age. Zhang Fei asked Cheng Dalei to step back, as he would handle Gong Yangai on his own. Gong Yongai screamed at them, telling them to step forward as he would kill them all. A hand reached behind him. Su Lishi's hand wrapped around him, hugging Gong Yongai in concern. Gong Yongai assured Su Lishi not to be afraid, as he would clear a path for the both of them. Su Lishi closed her eyes, and a single tear was seen in her eye, telling him that he didn't have to and that she wanted him to run away. Su Lishi interrupted Gong Yongai's thoughts on him running alone by telling him to run because she couldn't. She went on and told him that the matter had originally been her fault and he had had nothing to do with it, so he could just be free to run away. And as for her, she belonged to the Su family, assuring him that she wouldn't die. Su Lishi yelled at him to go, to which Gong Yongai obeyed, charging in through one of the windows. While the mouth of the man in front of him was wide open, he leaped on the man, and the man stumbled as Gong Yongai landed on his chest, while the other man asked who he was. One of them yelled to stop Gong Yongai, as the others wondered who had come out of the window, and while some were amazed by Gong Yongai's speed. Looking through one of the windows Gong Yongai had jumped from, Su Lishi thought of Gong Yongai as silly, crying. She hoped for him not to get caught, as for her she was just a bird in a cage. And as for Gong Yongai, he was the eagle in the sky, while looking at the horizon where Gong Yongai was running. Dao Fei who asked Cheng Dalei if he wanted him to take some of the men to catch Gong Yongai. Cheng Dalei's hands raised, expressing his need to stop, and responded that he claimed that Gong Yongai would rather die than be captured by them, and if they were to try, he believed a few of their men would die in the process. Su Lishi kneeled, staring at the ground, while a voice asked Cheng Dalei what they would do with her. Su Lishi was in disdain and said that it was her responsibility, as she couldn't educate Gong Yongai, who was a servant of the Su family and intentionally hurt someone. Cheng Dalei responded that it was now Su Ying's business on how to deal with her, as it was now the Su family's concern and he was not interested in it. And as Gong Yongai, Cheng Dalei pitied him as he saw real talent in him. With a serious look on her face, Su Lishi didn't respond back. After a while, a voice announced that Su Lishi had usurped the first daughter's finances and allowed an evil slave to harm people, so she was expelled from the Su family and would have nothing to do with the Su family's future. While Su Ying stood up in front of her relatives, they went on and announced that those who conspired with Su Lishi and plotted against Su Ying would be expelled from the Su family. Also, the first bloodline would pass the second bloodline, and the property of the children of the second bloodline would revert to the family. The Su family closed their eyes as they listened that the Su family property, such as the fields outside the city, the urban cottage industry, and the cargo ships at the docks, was inherited by the first daughter of the Su family. Su Ying's face was bright as she informed them that the matter had been settled, and in the future, she hoped that they would work together to increase the prosperity of the Su family. As she stepped outside the Su family's gate, a hand holding a bag and a man said that even though the fortune was returned to the Su family, Su Lishi certainly had some private savings in secret. Another man chimed in that he believed her money was enough to open a small inn outside. Cheng Dalei and Zhu Shenji watched Su Lishi leave. Zhu Shenji warned Cheng Dalei that if the grass had only been cut, he had to be aware of having a snake in his lap and proceeded to ask him if he was too merciful to deal with her. Cheng Dalei retorted that a homeless woman who was Su Lishi was more than a mouse rather than a snake, and that the sword in his hand was to lead heroes from all over the world, and that the Su family affairs were nothing compared to that. Zhu Shenji brushed his beard with his hand and asked Cheng Dalei if he was plotting against Su Lishi. Cheng Dalei smiled and told Zhu Shenji that a rabbit does not foul its own hole because he was uninterested in them, but he was interested in Gong Yongai because he was a rare talent. This prompted Zhu Shenji to question him. Zhu Shenji looked at Cheng Dalei and asked him if he wanted to invite Gong Yongai to the village, as he remembered him saying that the boy didn't like to be bothered. Cheng Dalei, remembering his fight against Gong Yongai, told Zhu Shenji that that was why he wanted him in and that Su Lishi was the key. He ordered Zhu Shenji to put people around her to watch her. He mumbled, believing that it wouldn't be long before Gong Yongai showed up at her place again, and when that opportunity arrived, Cheng Dalei would grab it. The system appeared, informing Cheng Dalei that he had completed his task of helping her fight for the family fortune, and was given a bonus draw time of 1, asking if he wanted to draw now. Looking at the system, Cheng Dalei grinned and asked the system if she was done evolving, as he hadn't seen her in a long time. The system didn't answer, which made Cheng Dalei question and call her name. Cheng Dalei took the opportunity and chuckled as he grabbed the system's cheeks and stretched them. The system punched Cheng Dalei in the face, which made Cheng Dalei fly a distance between them. Cheng Dalei fell to the ground, still affected by the impact of the punch and with a red dent on his face. The lottery machine appeared, telling Cheng Dalei that he had a lot of nerve. Even though the system's body was developing, she was still a self-regulating body that he shouldn't just touch. It advised him that after the hit he should wake up and start sobering up. Anxious, Cheng Dalei asked the lottery machine if he was now in charge of the lottery. The lottery machine told Cheng Dalei that he was correct, that he was to fill in for the system at work and that the raffle was a la carte reward. It informed Cheng Dalei that he could choose the type of raffle and the raffle type. It added that Cheng Dalei could choose weapons, secret books, items, characters, mounts, and so on, as they would come out in excellent grade or higher. Cheng Dalei told it to quickly get him the secret book. The lottery machine enthusiastically obeyed, and a huge amount of gacha balls appeared. A green ball appeared and informed Cheng Dalei that he had acquired the astral axe technique and that its level was top. Cheng Dalei's eyes shined, and he thought that he could now finally get the full power out of the ghost-faced axe. Suddenly, another ball dashed and hit the axe technique, which made both Cheng Dalei and the lottery machine's mouths wide open in confusion. The lottery machine mumbled that the ball was a sword technique. A notification popped up, informing Cheng Dalei that he acquired the sword technique off a quick sword and that the first style was straightforward, ultimate power, and crippling. Cheng Dalei rode on a horse and waved his goodbye to Su Ying and Xiaoda. Kaidagang approached him, asking if he was about to leave. Cheng Dalei responded that he was, and although he didn't want to go, he had many things to do in the Toad Village. He asked Kaidagang if he wanted to stay in his village for a few days so that they could talk more through the nights. Kaidagang clasped both of his hands in respect and told Cheng Dalei that he was also busy with some official business, so he wouldn't be able to bother him. He informed him that, however, some people did want to go to the Toad Village. He went on to say that the ones who wanted to visit were talented people sent by Yang Longting to help. Cheng Dalei's face became serious as he believed that it was some form of surveillance. He asked Kaidagang how many would come. Kaidagang answered by guessing that there were 3 or 4 who would visit. Cheng Dalei sighed and told Kaidagang that he must have been disappointed by him. Kaidagang held an awkward smile and responded that it was more on Yang Longting's orders and he couldn't help it. Cheng Dalei raised his hand and began his speech, stating why they didn't send some more over because what he lacked the most was talented people. Kaidagang cringed, wondering if Cheng Dalei couldn't really understand the real meaning. Later on, the huge wall of the fallen leaf city was in the distance. Gao Fei, who called Cheng Dalei a general and told him that they were strong now. He could now also be promoted to centurion when they got back. Cheng Dalei responded and told him to call him village master in front of their own people, not a general. He went on to say that people should be aware not to become too ambitious just because they had been given something great. For example, he couldn't do whatever he wanted just because he was wearing the general's armor. Gao Fei, who asked about what Cheng Dalei's promotion meant. Cheng Dalei responded that Yang Longting did not let him die in the Fallen Leaf City because he wanted him to die in the great battle against Black Rock City, and that no one would feed cheese to a mouse unless the cheese was attached to a mousetrap. He went on to say that now he had eaten the cheese, the mousetrap would snap shut and the mouse and cat game with Yang Longting was the next big thing. A few days later, they were on the mountain path of King Niu Mountain. A carriage was seen passing, and the inside of it spoke that several of them were going to King Niu Mountain, not only to find out if they were serious about accepting recruitment, but also to examine the Toad Village's finances and internal relationships. One of the men inside the carriage said that the Toad Village had annexed 50 other villages, and he didn't believe that they were closely related, while the man on his right responded that he understood the mission. He was worried that the wild mountain bandits were said to eat human flesh. Pei Zijai, the man with a man-bun hair, told them that only a man with great courage could accomplish their mission, and he advised the others that they were intellectuals so they couldn't get tough with the mountain bandits. However, they had to use their brains instead. The fat man mumbled that to investigate, inquire, and differentiate they wouldn't get tough with them, so they had to use their brains, while the man on the raid chimed in that they must crush the Toad Village with their minds alone and show them the power of intelligence. They told Pei Zijai that they understood it, to which Pei Zijai praised them. Later on, they arrived at the front gate of the Toad Village and introduced themselves as Yang Longting's men whom he had ordered to come and asked them to open the gate quickly. Pei Zijai sweated and told his companions that they had to be careful when the gate opened and dozens of swordsmen and axe fighters rushed out. They had to immediately run away, to which the others nodded. Suddenly the gate opened, and out of their expectation, the Toad Village villagers threw flower petals at them, welcoming Yang Longting's men. Zhu Shenji, who led the villagers, welcomed them as they prepared a flag for them. Pei Zizhai and the others' faces turned blue as they didn't expect such a warm welcome. Zhu Shenji and the others grinned, and he told Pei Zizhai that they looked forward to them like winter looks forward to spring light, and that they had long awaited the arrival in their village. The man beside Zhu Shenji flattered Pei Zizhai. Pei Zizhai asked Zhu Shenji who he was. Zhu Shenji held his hand and introduced himself. He was in disbelief as he thought that the Toad Village's attitude was good and that their task didn't seem to be difficult. He claimed that he could even make some profit aside. Pei Zizhai responded that he had come to follow Yang Longting's order and check the Toad Village situation. He asked them to take the lead, and they answered that they would treat him to food as they believed that he had a long journey. The food served emitted a strong smell. Pei Zizhai and the others' faces darkened as they wondered if the food served was the food they were going to eat. Zhu Shenji chuckled and told them that they were blessed as they normally couldn't eat such things but now had the opportunity today since they had some guests. The man beside Pei Zizhai was depressed and told Pei Zizhai that beautiful women were present and sang for them while they drank and enjoyed the dance. Pei Zizhai responded that when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Trembling, he held his chopstick and was about to get some food, but he stopped. Zhu Shenji's hands collided as he told the depressed Pei Zizhai that he didn't have to be in a hurry as they hadn't prayed yet. Pei Zizhai asked Zhu Shenji what he meant. Zhu Shenji began to pray and thanked Yang Longting for the food he had given and whose light illuminated the world, which made Pei Zizhai and his men wonder what Zhu Shenji was doing. Zhu Shenji chuckled and enthusiastically told them that they must pray every day before meals, as Cheng Dalei worships Yang Longting so much that he hangs a portrait of him in his bedroom and bows 3 times in the morning and 3 times in the evening. He asked if Pei Zizhai didn't pray before meals, and he responded that they didn't have such a rule at their place. After barely swallowing, Zhu Shenji stood up and told them that they had new people in their family on that day. He asked the villagers to applaud and asked their new brothers to recount the glorious past of Yang Longting. Pei Zizhai asked him if it was really necessary. Zhu Shenji yelled, asking him if he did not respect Yang Longting and if he did not worship him from the bottom of his heart, and not regard him as the light of his heart. He spread his arms towards the villagers and told them that Pei Zizhai seemed embarrassed. He asked them which one of them would stand in for him. A man stood up and happily told them that he would start. He sang a song praising Yang Longting for his achievements. Another villager beside him sighed as he wanted to sing the same thing. Another man wrote a poem for Yang Longting. Zhu Shenji smiled and asked for the next person to perform, and beside him, Pei Zizhai felt dejected by that time. The villagers each presented their praises to Yang Longting while the others cheered for him. Zhu Shenji grinned and told Pei Zizhai that he would be next, which made Pei Zizhai question him. Zhu Shenji told them that they started at 5,000 words, which made Pei Zizhai and his men's jaws widen. Meanwhile, in the valley of the New Toad Village, Liu Bei and Cheng Dalei stood above a peak, staring at the horizon. Liu Bei asked him if he had really decided to use the method against the people sent from Yuzhou. Cheng Dalei responded that he had no other method, as it was not time to fight with Yang Longting. Liu Bei retorted that he didn't think they could hide the New Toad Village from Yang Longting. Cheng Dalei told him that hiding it for a day was better than not hiding it at all, and that eventually the truth would come out, but that they were not as strong as Yang Longting at the moment. The villagers at the New Toad Village kept working on the structures as they brought logs from each corner of the village. The system was sleeping as its system evolution was still in progress. Pei Zizhai clasped his hand and asked Zhu Shenji if he could meet Cheng Dalei as he had been idle with them for a long time. Zhu Shenji responded and told him that they could talk with Cheng Dalei another time as he had diarrhea. He suggested that they should talk about the deeds of Yang Longting instead. He asked Pei Zizhai which battle Yang Longting won a great victory against the Rings, to which Pei Zizhai replied that it was the battle in Nage Valley. Another question was asked by Zhu Shenji, asking Pei Zizhai how many enemies were killed in the battle, and he answered that there were 1,000 who were killed. Zhu Shenji asked another question about the names of those who were killed. Pei Zizhai closed his eyes from the absurd questions. Night came, and the huge campfire was lit. The villagers still praised Yang Longting. Pei Zizhai and his men were in the corner, and he told them that they had been there for a morning run, a prayer before meals, and a discussion before bed about how great Yang Longting was. The man beside Pei Zizhai felt more dejected as he responded that what they ate at the village tasted like animal food. He had seen some meat and wine the other day and had been informed that it was an offering to the king of Yuzhou. He went on and said that the key was that they also ate it with them and that he didn't know how to survive anymore. Zhu Shenji appeared and asked them if they could tell him the top 10 classic quotes of Yang Longting, which shocked Pei Zizhai and his companion. Pei Zijai gathered his men and murmured that the Toad village was a bunch of crazies, while the man in the center told them that they were completely unable to find the entry point. The last man told the other two that if they continued, he would go crazy. Zhu Shenji asked them where they were going. Pei Zijai responded that they were just going for a little pee, which made Zhu Shenji ask if the three of them would pee, believing that they had a good relationship, and they just laughed. After a little while, at the gate of the Toad village, one of the villagers happily told Zhu Shenji that Pei Zijai's party was gone, to which Zhu Shenji asked if he was sure. Zhu Shenji raised his arm in happiness and told the men to get the meat and wine from the kitchen as they hadn't eaten meat for days, which made his men happy. One day and one night later at Yuzhu City Military Division, a man yelled, informing the military strategist that someone had come back. Lai Shanyan wondered if Pei Zijai had witnessed an important piece of information. Pei Zijai and his men looked out of life in them, which made Lai Shanyan ask what was wrong with him and if he had managed to lose weight. They knelt and bowed in front of Lai Shanyan. Lai Shanyan asked them if the Toad village had locked them up and beaten them up. Pei Zijai and the man beside him cried as several days of sad and happy experiences came together and informed Lai Shanyan that the Toad village hadn't treated them right. Agitated, Lai Shanyan closed his eyes, poked his nose bridge, and mumbled that the Toad village was shameless, that no matter what Cheng Dalei was up to, they should test him so they would know. He pointed at them and informed Pei Zijai's party that the boss bear of Fuhu Mountain wanted to rebel against Yang Longting, as they also needed to beat the dog before the lion and stain Yuzhu Greenwood with blood. He ordered Pei Zijai that he should go to the Toad village one more time to deliver his letter and have them send 1,000 people to fight on Fuhu Mountain. Pei Zijai begged Lai Shanyan to spare him, and he asked if he was trying to take his life by going back to the Toad village. Lai Shanyan was confused. Meanwhile, a hand handed a piece of an envelope to Cheng Dalei and informed him that it came from Yuzhu. Zhu Shenji asked Cheng Dalei what the content of the letter was. Cheng Dalei responded that Yuzhu had asked them to raise 1,000 soldiers to help them fight against Fuhu Mountain. Zhu Shenji leaned closer and advised Cheng Dalei that they couldn't send soldiers to Yang Longting as he obviously wanted to be on their tail. Cheng Dalei looked serious and responded that if you eat a jujube from someone else, you have to give them back a jujube tree as it was the rule in business, and that now Yuzhu was waiting for them to give a reply. He burned the letter on the candle's flame and asked Liu Jihan to get him a pen and some paper for him to write. Cheng Dalei had told Liu Jihan what to write on the paper. Morning came, and Zhu Shenji thanked the soldier for his hard work. He had asked the soldier if he wanted to stay one night in their village because it was already late, and he would have to take a long way back. He assured him that he would be well treated, which made the soldier shudder. The soldier rode his horse quickly and then turned around and left. Zhu Shenji's eyes sunk as the soldier ran so fast. Meanwhile, at the venerable military strategist, Lai Shanyan wondered if the letter was really the handwriting of a mountain bandit, as he was amazed by how elegant it was. The content of Cheng Dalei's letter, as Lai Shanyan was reading it, was just complimenting Lai Shanyan, which made Lai Shanyan cringe. Lai Shanyan continued to read the letter and he thought that even though Cheng Dalei spoke disgustingly, he seemed to understand the situation. As Lai Shanyan was reading, Cheng Dalei stated in his letter that there were over 5,000 people in the village, but they were old, weak women and children in need of rations. He thought that what Cheng Dalei said was true, as the village was short on food and wanting some rations for the winter was normal. While Lai Shanyan had a cup of his tea, he noticed that there was another letter in the envelope stating that Cheng Dalei wanted to borrow some supplies from Yang Longting. Lai Shanyan blurted out the water in his mouth as he saw the outrageous supplies Cheng Dalei needed. He gritted his teeth as he believed that Cheng Dalei should just starve and wondered if he was going to attack Yuzhu City for asking for so many supplies. Lai Shanyan closed his eyes and thought that he had to report to Yang Longting.